Did Apollo 11 really go to the moon? Is it a real possibility, or just a figment of humanity's imagination? A mere urban legend? Is this rumor ultimately a good thing or a bad thing? Tonight, once again, we'll examine whether it's true or not from a Japanese perspective. Title: Did Apollo 11 really go to the moon? The moon landing hoax conspiracy examined. 1. Introduction. The most famous conspiracy theory of all time. We have explored secret societies, banking dynasties, occult terror networks, and vegan health claims. Now, let us look up at the moon. July 20th, 1969. An estimated 650 million people watched as Neil Armstrong descended from the lunar module and spoke the words, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." For most of the world, it was a triumph of human achievement. But for a small, but persistent minority, it was something else, a lie. According to moon landing conspiracy theorists, the Apollo missions never went to the moon. The footage was filmed in a studio, probably on a soundstage in Area 51 or a Hollywood backlit. NASA faked the landings to win the space race against the Soviet Union. All the astronauts were complicit, or maybe they were killed and replaced. Depending on the version of the theory, the faking was done by the US government to boost Cold War morale. Walt Disney, hired by NASA for his special effects expertise. Stanley Kubrick, who supposedly used the same sets from 2001, A Space Odyssey. In this lecture, I will give you a comprehensive, evidence-based overview of the moon landing conspiracy theory, the origins of the theory, where it came from, and why it persists. The most common proofs offered by hoax believers, and the scientific rebuttals. The physical evidence that proves we went, including moon rocks, third-party tracking, and Soviet silence. The psychology of conspiracy belief. Why people reject clear evidence. The legacy of Apollo, what we have learned from the moon. And finally, the irony of the hoax theory itself. Let us begin with the man who started it all. 2. The origin. Bill Kaysing and the self-published pamphlet. Who was Bill Kaysing? Bill Kaysing was a technical writer who worked for Rocketdyne, the company that built the F-1 engines for the Saturn V rocket, from 1956 to 1963. He left the company 2 years before the first Apollo moon landing. In 1974, Kaysing self-published a pamphlet called We Never Went to the Moon, America's $30 billion swindle. His claims: NASA lacked the technical capability to land on the moon in 1969. The astronauts would have been killed by lethal radiation from the Van Allen belts. The photos and videos show obvious studio fakery, strange shadows, crosshairs behind objects, a waving flag, no stars in the sky. Kaysing had no inside information. He never worked on Apollo. He never saw classified documents. He simply argued from common sense and visual evidence. Why his pamphlet succeeded? It was published just as public interest in Apollo was fading. The last landing was in 1972. Watergate had eroded trust in government. The Vietnam War had made Americans cynical about official narratives. Kaysing's background as a Rocketdyne employee gave him a veneer of credibility. Kaysing's pamphlet was the foundation for every moon hoax theory that followed. He died in 2005, still insisting the landings were faked. Other early promoters, Bart Sibrel, a filmmaker who produced A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, 2001. He famously confronted Buzz Aldrin with a Bible and called him a liar. Aldrin punched him. Fox Television. In 2001, Fox aired a documentary called Conspiracy Theory: Did We Land on the Moon? It gave national exposure to claims that were previously fringe. 3. The most common claims, and why they are wrong. Let me now go through the most frequently cited proofs of a hoax and the scientific rebuttals. Claim 1. the flag waves. There is no wind on the moon. The hoax argument. In the footage, the American flag appears to ripple and wave. That means there must have been air movement, i.e., a studio fan. The rebuttal, the flag did not wave. It wobbled. The astronauts were twisting the flagpole into the lunar soil. The flag was mounted on a horizontal rod to keep it extended. In the vacuum of the moon, when the rod was released, the momentum of the twisting caused the flag to vibrate. There was no air resistance to dampen the motion, so the flag kept moving for several seconds, longer than it would on Earth. This is exactly what physics predicts. NASA's explanation: the astronauts deliberately caused the movement. It is not wind. It is inertia. Claim 2. There are no stars in the sky in the photos. The hoax argument. If they were really on the moon, the sky would be filled with stars. The background is pure black, obviously a studio backdrop. The rebuttal. The astronauts were photographing brightly lit subjects. The lunar surface and their white spacesuits. The surface of the moon reflects sunlight like asphalt on a sunny day. To capture the astronauts and the ground without overexposure, the cameras were set to fast shutter speeds, 1/250th of a second or faster, in small apertures. Stars are extremely faint. At those camera settings, stars simply do not appear, just as they do not appear in photographs taken at night from Earth if you use a fast shutter speed. Test it yourself. Go outside on a clear night. Take a picture of a friend standing under a streetlight with a fast shutter speed. The friend will be visible. The stars will not. That is not a conspiracy. That is photography. Claim 3. The shadows are not parallel, suggesting multiple light sources, studio lights. The hoax argument. In some Apollo photos, shadows fall in different directions. If there were only one light source, the sun, all shadows should be parallel. The rebuttal. The lunar surface is not flat. It is covered with hills, craters, and rocks. Shadows can appear to point in different directions simply because the ground is uneven. A shadow cast on a slope will appear to point differently from a shadow cast on flat ground. Additionally, the camera's perspective creates an illusion of non-parallel shadows. Parallel lines appear to converge in the distance, railroad tracks. Shadows radiating from the sun across uneven terrain can easily appear non-parallel. NASA's demonstration. This has been recreated on Earth many times. Take photographs on a rocky slope at midday. Shadows will not appear perfectly parallel. Claim 4. The crosshairs, reticle marks, on some photos appear behind objects, meaning the photos were doctored. The hoax argument. NASA used a reticle, crosshairs, in the camera lens to mark the center of the frame. In some photos, the crosshairs appear to be behind the astronauts or behind rocks, meaning someone cut and pasted the astronaut onto a background, covering the crosshairs. The rebuttal. This is one of the more technically sophisticated claims, but it is still wrong. The crosshairs are physically etched into the camera lens assembly. They are not printed on the film. They appear black because they block light. When a very bright object, like a white spacesuit, is in the frame, the light can bleed into the area of the crosshair, making the crosshair appear to be behind the object. This is a photographic effect called blooming. It happens on Earth with any bright light source. Demonstration. Take a picture of a Christmas tree light against a dark background. The light may appear to cover part of a reticle if you had one. That is not a fake. That is how film or digital sensors respond to overexposed highlights. Claim 5. The lunar surface is too bright. No blast crater under the lunar module. The hoax argument. When the lunar module landed, its engine exhaust should have blasted a large crater in the lunar surface. The photos show no crater, just a dusty surface. Therefore, the landing was filmed on Earth. The rebuttal. The lunar module's engine was throttled down before landing. During the final descent, the engine produced about 10% of its maximum thrust. Most of the dust was blown horizontally, not vertically, because the engine bell was very close to the ground. The result, a shallow scour mark, not a deep crater. More importantly, the lunar surface is covered in regolith, fine, densely packed dust compacted by billions of years of micrometeorite impacts. It does not behave like soft soil on Earth. It does not easily blow away. Buzz Aldrin's description, he said he could see the engine blowing dust sideways, but it did not form a crater. Later missions intentionally landed with more thrust and still did not produce craters. Claim 6. The astronauts would have died from radiation in the Van Allen belts. The hoax argument. The Van Allen radiation belts are zones of high-energy particles trapped by Earth's magnetic field. Passing through them would expose astronauts to lethal doses of radiation. Therefore, no one could have gone to the moon. The rebuttal. This is a misunderstanding of radiation physics. The Apollo spacecraft passed through the Van Allen belts quickly, about 30 minutes each way. The total radiation dose was about 1.1 rads, less than some medical CT scans. The lethal dose is about 300 rads. The belts are not uniformly dangerous. They are weakest at the poles, and Apollo trajectories went through the thinnest parts. The spacecraft also had aluminum shielding. The evidence. The astronauts wore radiation dosimeters. The readings have been published. They match predictions. The hoax argument. The Soviet Union was in a heated space race with the US. If the US had faked the moon landings, the Soviets would have had every reason to expose the lie. They had spy satellites, listening posts, and the world's best rocket scientists. They never called it a hoax. The hoax believers' counter-argument. The Soviets were also in on the conspiracy, or they were too embarrassed to admit they lost. The rebuttal. This is absurd. The Soviet Union spent billions on its own lunar program, the N-1 rocket, which failed spectacularly. They had every incentive to expose a hoax. They also tracked Apollo missions with their own radio telescopes. Their tracking data confirmed that Apollo had gone to the moon. There is no evidence the Soviets ever doubted the landings. In fact, they congratulated the US. Why would they congratulate a lie? Claim 8. The astronauts looked too happy. Fake emotion. The hoax argument. The astronauts seemed calm and rehearsed. Real explorers would have shown more excitement or nervousness. The rebuttal. This is purely subjective. Neil Armstrong was famously stoic. Buzz Aldrin was matter-of-fact. Mike Collins, the command module pilot, has written extensively about his nerves. What does authentic emotion look like on film? This claim has no objective basis. 4. The physical evidence that proves we went. Now, let me turn to the evidence that hoax believers never mention. Evidence 1. Moon rocks. Apollo missions returned 382 kilograms, 842 pounds, of lunar rock and soil. What makes moon rocks unique? They are depleted of volatile elements, water, lead, etc., that would have boiled away in the vacuum of space. They contain isotopes formed by cosmic ray exposure that could only happen on an airless body. They have tiny glass spherules formed by micrometeorite impacts, which cannot be replicated on Earth. Their composition matches samples later returned by Soviet lunar missions, which were unmanned and confirmed Apollo findings. No hoax could fool thousands of scientists across decades. No Earth rock has ever been successfully passed off as a moon rock. Evidence 2. Third-party tracking. The Soviet Union tracked Apollo spacecraft with its own radio telescopes. So did the Jodrell Bank Observatory in the UK, which is not part of NASA. All independent tracking confirmed the spacecraft left Earth orbit, went behind the moon, and returned. The radio signals also showed the Doppler shift expected from a round trip of over 500,000 miles. Evidence 3. Retroreflectors. Apollo 11, 14, and 15 left laser retroreflector arrays on the lunar surface. These are mirrors that reflect laser beams sent from Earth. Observatories worldwide, including non-US observatories, have been using these retroreflectors for over 50 years. If Apollo did not land, how did those mirrors get there? The Soviet Luna missions also left reflectors, smaller ones. No one claims Luna was faked. Evidence 4. Photographs of Apollo landing sites from lunar orbit. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, LRO, launched in 2009, has photographed all 6 Apollo landing sites. The images show the descent stages of the lunar modules. The astronauts' footprints, still visible after 40-plus years. The rover tracks from Apollos 15, 16, and 17. The science experiments left behind. These images were taken by a robotic spacecraft, not by NASA astronauts. There is no plausible way to fake kilometer-wide images of landing sites from orbit. Evidence 5. The astronauts' testimony. 12 men walked on the moon between 1969 and 1972. They all told the same story, with consistent details. None of them has ever confessed to a hoax. If the landings were faked, someone would have talked. Secrets involving hundreds of thousands of NASA employees would have leaked. The counter-argument. They were all sworn to secrecy. Their families were threatened. The rebuttal. There is no evidence of any threat. Buzz Aldrin punched a hoax believer. He did not join him. The astronauts have nothing to gain from maintaining a lie and everything to lose: their reputation, their place in history. Evidence 6. The sheer scale of the conspiracy. The Apollo program employed over 400,000 people: engineers, technicians, astronauts, support staff, contractors. If the landings were faked, all of them would have had to keep silent. No large conspiracy has ever been kept secret for this long. Whistleblowers would have emerged. None have. The counter-argument. NASA only needed a few dozen people to know the truth. The rest were duped. The rebuttal. To fake the landings convincingly, you would need a film crew, lighting, cameras, sets, special effects artists, soundstage technicians, flight controllers who fake the telemetry, tracking station employees who fake the radio signals, the astronauts themselves, who would have to lie on live TV, the recovery crews, who would have to pretend to pick up astronauts from the ocean, the lunar sample handlers, who would have to fake moon rocks. This would be thousands of people, minimum, and not one has come forward with verifiable evidence. 5. Why do people believe the moon landing was faked? Given the overwhelming evidence, why does the hoax theory persist? Psychological reasons. The something is wrong feeling. The Apollo footage looks strange. The colors are weird. The shadows are odd. The astronauts move differently. This is because the moon is a different environment. Lower gravity, no atmosphere, bright sunlight. But to someone unfamiliar with physics, looks fake, means is fake. Distrust of government. The US government has lied many times. Tuskegee, MKUltra, Vietnam War, Iraq War. If they lied about those things, why not about the moon? The problem is that lying about Tuskegee served a purpose, saving face for researchers. Lying about the moon would have required faking evidence for decades, and the Soviets would have exposed it. The scale and risk are completely different. The illusion of expertise. Bill Kaysing said, "I worked at Rocketdyne, so I know NASA faked it." People accept this because they do not understand rocket science. But no actual rocket scientists, including those who worked on Apollo, believe the hoax theory. Confirmation bias. Once you believe the landings were faked, every anomaly, a strange shadow, a missing star, becomes proof. You ignore the thousands of pieces of evidence that contradict you. Social reasons. The internet amplification effect. A YouTube video claiming NASA faked it gets millions of views. A dry NASA technical report gets 0. The algorithm rewards sensationalism. The egalitarian myth of doing your own research. People believe that watching a 20-minute video is equivalent to decades of scientific training. It is not. Research means reading primary sources, understanding physics, and evaluating evidence, not scrolling through Reddit. The appeal of being a truth teller. Believing a conspiracy theory feels like being part of an enlightened minority. It gives people a sense of superiority over the sheeple. 6. The irony of the hoax theory here is the irony that hoax believers never acknowledge. If NASA had the technology to fake a moon landing in 1969, that would be as impressive as actually going to the moon. Consider what would be required: a soundstage large enough to simulate the lunar surface over an acre, a lighting system that perfectly replicates the harsh, single-source sunlight of the moon, a vacuum chamber to make the flag and dust behave correctly, because dust in a studio does not move the same way, a way to fake the radio signals, including Doppler shift, that fooled the Soviet Union, Jadrell Bank, and other independent trackers, a way to fake 382 kilograms of moon rocks that fooled thousands of scientists for 50-plus years, a way to fake the laser retroreflectors that are still used today. If NASA had been able to do all that in 1969, before CGI, before digital editing, before modern special effects, they would have had to invent technology far beyond what was known. They would have had to be more advanced than they claimed to be. The hoax theory does not make NASA look incompetent. It makes NASA look like wizards. 7. The legacy of Apollo. Why it matters. Why does this conspiracy theory matter beyond being an interesting historical debate? Because it undermines trust in science and human achievement. When a child learns that millions of people claim the moon landings were faked, they may start to doubt everything: vaccines, climate science, the shape of the earth. Conspiracy theories are not harmless. They erode the epistemic foundation of society. The Apollo program was one of humanity's greatest achievements. 400,000 people worked together to do something that had never been done before. They succeeded, not because of a conspiracy, but because of science, engineering, and courage. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins were not actors. They were test pilots who risked their lives. 12 men walked on the moon. We owe them the respect of acknowledging their achievement. 9. Conclusion. Yes, we really went. Let me give you a straight answer. Yes, Apollo 11 really went to the moon. Yes, astronauts walked on the lunar surface. Yes, they returned safely. The evidence is overwhelming. We have 382 kilograms of moon rocks that cannot be Earth rocks. We have laser retroreflectors that are still used for experiments. We have photographs from lunar orbit showing the landing sites. The Soviet Union, America's sworn enemy, confirmed the landings. 400,000 NASA employees did not keep a secret for 50-plus years. Every specific claim of fakery, the flag, the shadows, the crosshairs, the Van Allen belts, has a scientific rebuttal. The moon landing hoax theory is not a legitimate alternative explanation. It is a product of misunderstanding physics, distrust of government, and the psychological appeal of being in the know. The next time someone tells you we never went to the moon, ask them, where did the moon rocks come from? Who put the retroreflectors there? Why did the Soviets agree to the lie? Most likely, they will not have good answers. Thank you for listening to this overview of the Apollo 11 moon landing conspiracy theory. Look up at the moon tonight. We have been there, and we will go again. Good night.